Hey everybody, on this week's episode of Conservation Corner, we're still out in Boone. I'll kind of do a panoramic here. It's looking slightly more like a savanna. I mean, it'll take time, probably, a decade, I'd be honest. Once we get a few fires in here, it'll really start coming into fruition. But I want to make it a point in my videos to kind of point out the good and the bad. So as we can see, I've made a lot of progress on this hillside. This is a south-facing slope, but I want to point out some bad here first, and then I'll walk around a little bit and show you some of the remnant savanna plants that are around here. So this is how, there's a lot of ways I can tell there hasn't been a land ethic in our state for a long time, but this is one of the ways you can tell. A lot of this land was grazed by cattle, so almost none of Iowa is, untouched or, virgin remnant oak savanna or prairie. There's very, very small percentage, like 0.01, I believe. So as you can see here, there's a fence, likely to keep cattle in your certain area of the pasture when, historically bison just roamed freely across our state, which is what made it what it is now. So this is a red oak here. As you can see, it fell because the fence rotted it out, essentially girdled it. So then it gets weak and hollow, as you can see, and it just fell right down the fence. But I've been kind of bucking it up, but you can see what happens here with disturbance. This big oak fell, who knows, maybe 10 years ago. It's pretty rotten, but it could have been recent as well. But the reason I think it's a while ago is because there was a lot of maple, hackberry, tiny little weedy tree seedlings. So when one of these big oaks falls down, it creates a huge opening. And, it's bad if there's invasives that come in. But even the native ones, like hackberry, sugar maple, there's a lot of gooseberry in there. There was one invasive, multiflora rose, but that's what happens with disturbance. A big tree falls, creates an opening, and those more shade tolerant species are likely already saplings under those big oaks because they can grow in the shade. So once they get an opening, they just shoot up. But I'll kind of walk around and show you some more weedy trees. Like I said in the last video, this is even a more distinct hackberry. It's got really warty bark. It's raised about a ½ inch or so. I'll probably girdle that. It's along the property. I could maybe drop it right along the fence line, but this will be our fire break, down that way. It's already fairly clean, it just probably take a rake and a leaf blower to get to bare ground. But right here, this species is a sugar maple, has really tight bark, light gray. The heartwood, it's pretty much one color all the way through when you cut it with the chainsaw. That's a lot of times. I can tell by the bark and bud, but it's really cool to see how each species is unique when you cut it, the heartwood and sapwood. And also really cool to just see the rings of the trees. I sometimes count them. And, most of the trees in these forests are much less than 100 years old. So that tells you that it was heavily grazed, all through the 1900s. And then once we stopped that grazing, all those trees just shot up and kind of made one age class of all the weedy species. As you can see behind me, look at all these maples. So I'll clear all those out, but then what we have left, I'll talk about the good. We should cut this fence off this red oak. It's kind of starting to girdle it, but that's a big boy. And that one The one in front is, or actually no, it's a double-stemmed bur oak. That one's also in the fence. No, those probably are not going to survive very long. But we have a lot of other oak species on this south-facing ridge. I only found a couple of shagbarks. There's some really nice black walnut. What else? I mean, a ways down there was that Kentucky coffee tree. So there's some really unique things. I'm excited to see what savanna plants come back. I guess I'll talk about that a little bit right now. So most of these guys are native sedges. So hopefully that'll blanket most of the forest floor. And with the oak leaf litter, I guess we'll also talk about that. Oak leaves are really high in lignin, so they don't break down. Like, there's not that many oak trees in this forest, and pretty much all these leaves on the ground are oak leaves, because that lignin doesn't allow, or it slows down the degradation process. So when fires come through, that's pretty much the only thing that will get rid of that litter and then release that carbon back into the ground and create more open space for all the savanna forbs and grass species. So as you can see, a lot of this is bare ground because of all these maples and hackberry, honey locust, elm that came in, and it just shades out the whole understory. So we're probably gonna have an insane flush of who knows what is in the seed bank. Hopefully it's not too many invasive or weedy species, but I'll keep you guys updated. This one's getting pretty long, so make sure to give it a like and comment. I love talking to you guys in the comments about what's going on in your areas, and I'll keep you updated on what's going on in central Iowa, really all over the state, but we've been central and north central mainly for a few months. So keep you guys updated on these projects. Appreciate it.